on the table, like some of our stronger other B ones, like the Gwenas, for example. Can't quite understand why this has been taken.
I think it goes down to the ease of execution. Like, you want something you can reliably set something up. What's really interesting to me is the fact that they've decided to ban Corki themselves, which is like kind of been the pick they defaulted onto a little bit. This though does mean that we'll have to see Schönfei influence the lanes better. So far, he relied on Trundle himself. They decided to ban Trundle this time against Sansara, opted in for the Volibear, and they need to make this early game count. Once you hit that level 6, we need to see a dive coming through from the likes of Schönfei so you can facilitate some of your lanes. Because, or else this game, I mean, this champion is just going to get outscared later into the stages of the game.
Yeah, for me, the Corky ban's strange, like you're saying, because obviously they've opted towards it, especially we've seen a lot of teams be wanting it as well. That to me speaks that maybe they want to take a Zir here, I'd imagine, on this rotation. But in response, Misfits Premier, we could maybe see, like we saw in the previous game, an artillery mage in response, stuff like the Ornn as well that can impact that mid lane. You have a constant look of like bemusal on your face. You look like somewhat confused. What's going on?
I'm thinking, to me, like, I would pick an AD carry here. I'd probably go for the likes of Twitch, maybe. But Twitch is just like a little annoying into the likes of Dinsao.
Mm.
Interesting as well to see a blind pick of the LeBlanc to come through, but it is that 2v2 we actually talked about earlier, where if you are picking a LeBlanc, play something you can 2v2 with it was, and with, of course, with the LeBlanc that you now have in the mid lane, that's something that allows you to facilitate that. Down in the bot side now as well, early aggression with the Kalista, also something you can set up for. We want playmaking supports here.
We've seen the Lissandra hover. I don't mind it. I think traditionally seen as a counter to the LeBlanc. I think pretty good in regards to the Kalista as well. Short range AD carry. If you can get onto it, lock it up, gives you a lot of time to blow it up with the Xin Zhao as well.
And it is locked in, so it gets that to good 2v2 skirmishes. Also, Ahri, one of these few champions who can actually stop the dashes coming through from LeBlanc. Back in the day when Ahri was released, her charm didn't stop anything. They were charmed after the dash came through. Nowadays, she actually cancels the dashes, which may, of course, have made it way more viable. So LeBlanc dashing forward, she'll have to do it trickery through minions, making sure that when the charm connects, or if it, rather make sure it doesn't connect, so you can still get that distortion through, get the damage to come through. I think for sure Misfits, they should be playing, targeting a lot of the support bans coming in here. And on the side of OPL, maybe you're looking for some more top lane bans against Kakos. There's still the likes of B4 Ornn or R4 Ornn you can go for. You don't have a top laner yet yourself. And if you're banning away supports, well, you're going to be banning away your own champion pool too that you're looking to counter pick on. So it's a little tricky here.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you there.
Absolutely.
I feel like we talked about ease of executions, execution compositions being important for some of our lower down teams. I think although I'm not a massive fan, I think there is like an element of like I like the fact they've gone for the strong 2v2. Kalista obviously for Zeke or comfort pick as well. We've seen him play, I believe it was Kalista and Zillion at one point as well, so that might be something that we see in the second ban phase here. Second pick phase rather. But I think there is an element of comfort to Oplon's composition, but I don't like how much priority they've had on the Volibear, giving it away in regards to like the Zeri as well, some stronger picks that we might see as well.
Well, we'll see. I think it's for sure something that can maybe help them bridge some of the issues they had the early game. And it can just be some extra comfort coming through. Very curious to see the fact that Gale gets banned away here. That just speaks to me that you can lock in and own yourself, and you won't really have to worry about the fact that Kale can answer that with just scaling for herself. Of course, that could be answered by the Sejuanian return then, but not really something that you get too scared about. And down towards the bot side, they might just blind pick that support. But this is great because it's going to be a takeaway. At the same time, it's a good setup with the Seri. And Nautilus is one of the few supports that deals very well with the Kalista once you hit that level 6. Of course, because you're able to just hit that ultimate. She can't run away from it. It's not a skill shot. It's just going to get knocked down on them.
I think this would be really interesting if we do see the Tarek here. It's actually a pairing that you see a lot of. I know that this is one of the duo matchups I believe that KT, who's probably the best Kalista on the server, favors with the Tarek. I'd be very interested to see if they pick it. I know that Twist plays it as well. I'm not sure how well it fits the rest of the composition, but it would have been spicy to see.
Honestly, I wouldn't have hated it. I genuinely thought together with what you're seeing right now from the side of Misfits, it could have been fine if they hit that Nautilus R. Well, at least you have the invulnerability you get from the side of Tarek. And if Tarek's too in a position where he's not able to just fully put that ultimate down, well, you can just get Kalista ulted. The ult can come down on Kalista then, and then you're just getting out scot-free, basically. But they decide to enter with aggression. They decide to enter with lockdown. And the matchup between Leona and Nautilus is a little interesting. We'll dive into that later. The last pick coming through from Kakos will just be that Gangplank. And Gangplank, he is so effective against team that likes to play Kalista, just due to the fact that you hit that cannon barrage, all of a sudden she's slowed, which of course means her attack speed will be a little bit slowed as well because of how it works with Kalista and her as a champion, and then that allows for the rest of the team to really just come down and target her up. Now that you already have the Nautilus for the lockdown, she should just be dead around that level 6. So level 6 from the likes of Oplon, they need to be careful. We're looking for earlier leads than that for them with the Volibear, with the LeBlanc, or with, of course, the Kalista and Leona.
Yeah, I think there's an important characterization to be made here that both teams have really got what I think is a standard draft for them. They've both got what they like. Major problem is Misfits Premier likes winning a little bit more than Oplon, so I feel like we're in both kind of a neutral state. I would favor Misfits Premier 7 times out of 10 because I think Oplon continuously we see them even with early game compositions they're not able to do much. They kind of fall behind just by sheer team gap in any way. So we're gonna have to see if they can surmount against those odds against a Misfits Premier team that are somewhat on a hot streak at the moment. But we'll be joining you though. We'll be joining you with those anticipations and expectations in a few minutes or so. Have words after this. We're on to the Rift now. Misfits Premier versus Oplon. A match very much for Misfits Premier to secure their 3-0 in this Super Week. In contrast, Oplon looking to secure a second win, something they didn't find until almost week 9 or 10, I believe. They got their first win in around week 8 or so. And from that point onwards, only managed to get 2, so they would manage to equal their win totalage. They were able to get a win here, but it's not going to be a difficult task, Allborg.
Yeah, it is going to be a difficult task. And I think that would be the case for any team that Oplon is facing at the moment. I think it's no secret that they have been struggling. But while they don't have, per se, a composition that scales here, which is what I usually prefer from teams that are struggling a little bit because it allows you to make mistakes, they've now found them in a situation where they have to be the one pressuring the charges because they are getting outscaled themselves here. So the first 10 minutes of the game, we actually have to see Oplon completely try and get that playmaking going. And honestly, if they just try there, I can't fault them. You know, if it's Schönfire flashing forward, even if it's looking a little dire, you know, at least he tried. At least he knew they were on a timer with this composition. So I just want to see that early aggression from Oplon. I want to see them try and stand up against Misfits Premier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the important thing you're saying is we can't fault them for trying. I just want to see teams take risks. And I feel like today, even of our first game, and yesterday as well, be this Academy's game, we're seeing too many teams that are just, you're drafting for risk and then not taking the risk. You have to find these openings in the early game and you never really make the attempt. Just throw it all down, let it all hang loose, and just, no. Even if the criticism comes afterwards, it's what you're playing towards anyway.
Yeah, throw it at the wall, see what sticks, and then learn from it. I feel like that's just a great takeaway as well, right? With the junglers as well from the top side of the map, they are both starting there. They will be pathing down towards the bottom side. I think that makes a lot of sense. There's not too much setup in the top side of the map between a matchup with Na and GP. So that matchup is just going to be led by itself. Of course. I think what is really interesting to me is the Leona versus Nautilus matchup. Normally, back in the day, before this was kind of utilized, it would just be quite even. Like, it would just be like, alright, whoever's going on towards the enemy AD carry first and getting the damage should be the one who's getting the beneficial trade. But nowadays, and I first saw this really come out from the LPL last spring, is that Nautilus is getting pegged into Leona because he can hook her out of her Zenith Blade, much like you see Thresh in a traditional matchup against Leona, be able to flay her out of her Zenith Blade. And this actually gives the Nautilus a little bit of an edge in terms of matchups where he wants to neutralize it, which is of course great in this situation where Twist wants to be the aggressor on the Leona.
Yeah, completely.
Agree?
Agree with. Yeah, agree. That's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're really starting to get on my nerves today, Gordon.
I'm keeping you on your toes.
Making my toes tingle, mate, with rage. But speaking of things that are bubbling over, on now 3 minutes in, Volibear almost completing his clear now onto the red buff. You can see that Zanzara skipped that wolf camp just to be able to get that early Rift Skull. Gives a little bit of safety over to his bot lane here. Because we know that the only advantages that can really be gleaned in this early game are through Schönfire. spending some resources to get that gank off, but he's actually just gone for a complete full clear, and I really would have liked to have seen Shermfire skip some camps here to try and get a gank off.
Yeah, so I think it comes down to what the communication was from the teammates. You can already see Peng and Seiko at the same time has gone for an early cheater recall because their waves are in a position where they could do so. But there actually is no vision currently. And if the recall comes through now from Sansara, they back off in time, but that could have been a dire situation.
Yeah, very close there. Sansara obviously does channel the base there. It means there's a few seconds of danger there, but Shermfire not quite pulling the trigger there, off to the side. Would have actually spelled disaster if he had done it around about in time, but I think the paired off tempo, like in the solo game, is exactly what Misfits Premier want. You can see the handshaking of camps, obviously, for one camp lead for Shermfire, but it's not going to translate to anything for the game. We need to get these early summoners burned, because time is really ticking. Talk about a lot of teams being, like, one team will be scaling and one team will be mid-game, and then there's, like, you know, you've got, like, 20, 25 minutes to play for. I think, not even to, like, really be hyperbolic about it, I feel like Oplon really have about, like, I want to say 10, 15 minutes before this game gets blown out of proportion.
I think that's fair enough. Another thing that we actually just saw come through from Cactus as well towards the top side is that he actually got that early ward as well after he crashed the top wave on towards the Gromp of Shermfire. So now they actually have complete intel of where Shermfire is. And I am now completely sure why Shermfire went for that full clear. It is because he's taken Predator, of course, and he was looking for the fast boots back so he can now influence the lanes with Predator instead.
Might be trying to do it here. Has popped the Predator here. Twist is going to be off to the side as well. And that's the first summoner of the game. It now comes at 5 minutes. We need to see a revisit in the mid lane. That needs to get abused here. Chayak must fall if Oplon are to have a chance in this game. Important to note now.
Let's track that a little bit today, Jake. In the first game, we saw mid lane summoner spell get blown. It was never punished again, so that's 0 out of 1 so far. Let's see in this game if it does get met up again, or like if it does get followed up from the team who wants to be the aggressor, which of course is Oplon here. Now Drake has been started up.
Here. Oh, great little flash from Twist here onto Zanzara. Means he has to get out of it, but First Blood does go over the way of Misfits Premier. Return kill is found by Zico. He's still on the Drake here. Gonna have to find his way out here though. Over the wall now, but he's had the flash. Couldn't quite get the dash over. There's a 1-for-1, but the Drake is still up now. Peng has level 6 from the wave. They found Vander. Chayak for the charm.
Drake is low.
Drake is low, but it's it could have been bad there, but W forward from Peng gets a heal as well. Misses the chain. Really questionable what more can be found. Not much. 2-for-1 for Oplon. They do lose the dragon, but they get some very crucial kills.
Definitely not a bad scenario, but look,
gangbang
Chayak hit 6.
I fancied it. Couldn't quite find the charm there, though.
Look at the mid lane, though. Look at how much Chayak is currently missing there. That's a full wave. It's not 1.5 that he just missed because he had to be down there for the bot lane. At least as a silver lining, Misfits Premier, they do pick up this Drake for themselves, which can allow themselves to stack on this neutral objective on towards the mid to late game. But from the side of Oplon, you can't complain about getting 2 kills on the Kalista. That can be bot pride. That can mean you can move it into the mid lane. And let's all have a look at the replay once again because you highlighted Twist. The flash on towards Sansara afterwards, but the follow-up is just through from the likes of Misfits Premier first because, of course, Chayak had that mid lane priority, so Peng, he's going to be late to the fight. And then we come to this split decision-making once again. Seiko wants to take care of the Drake. He fails to jump with the Kalista and force to flash out instead, while Peng was, of course, fighting on the river at the, well, probably would be around the top side of the river here. Either way, Vander oversteps and they're able to punish it. His flash was just coming out 1 or 2 seconds too late.
Yeah, you have a very strange thing that happens there where both mid laners kind of like shark off into their separate lanes to get that level 6 and then come back and try and do something. We see the revisit there from Shaik as well as Gangplank ultimate expended there. But I think important to note is quite a lot of resources expended on the side of Misfits Premier at the end of that fight. Obviously the Gangplank ult not going to be able to be utilized now for around about, I believe, another minute or so. It means that with this Rift Herald now, there's a slight window where Oplon can maybe push their advantage. And I would argue they really have to.
Listen, Ari doesn't have ult because she just used it. Shermfire has level 6. He's got the Predator. I would love to see some camps would have been skipped here, right? Just go for the dive immediately on towards the Ari himself. Instead, he's prioritizing the full clear. And that may come back to just, like, once again, make them miss this window that they currently have in the mid lane.
Yeah, full clear volley bear. Not going to do you many favors this game. I feel like I can understand it somewhat in terms of trying to boost the economy, but I think going on to the Rift Tower now, very important. Both supports kind of locked in lane somewhat. You can see Zanzara's making his way up to the top side. need to try and get this. They need to put this on a crucial member. I would imagine putting this in the bot lane is the most important place to put it. If you can get that crashed wave in, get a little bit more gold here. Cat's Cost over to the side here. Let's have Flash. I think they're going to be able to walk out here, as long as they don't mince their moves.
And they will be able to pick up their first neutral objective from Oplon themselves, coming in with a Rift Herald here. I feel like just opening up in the mid lane is fine here. You don't have to get the full turret, but you can at least get some plates, elevate your LeBlanc as well at the same time. Allow yourself to come in with a 2v2 in the mid lane and then move it down to the bot lane afterwards to get some extra priority and play for the Kalista. Another option, of course, is just that you just immediately use it for the Kalista instead and try and get that bot lane turret, because Seacor is still 2-0 on the Kali. Obviously in a position where she's able to gain priority down here.
Completely. I don't think it's any surprise that Misfits Premier have got on this Gangplank champion that we've been speaking about a little bit. Now has the Cannonball Barrage available. It is Kaskos' most played champion, I think, ever in his pro career. So, getting through. We've seen him play it once before as well. I don't think it came to a win. I believe it was one of the first games that he came in as the replacement to Irrelevant. Still very, very prominent on this champion. And I think the later this game goes, we've spoken about these windows if they can't be found. He's going to be an absolute nightmare for Oplon to deal with.
I 100% agree with you there, but Seacor and Twist looks like they wanted to go for a bag, then they wanted to try and bait Manda and Woolite to overstep themselves here. They're trying to keep Twist in the fog of war, trying to bait the fact that he might be roaming up into the mid lane, and hopefully trying to make them overextend, but it's just not coming through. Now, River has been pinged out here. Schönfire is around. He does have Flash. He does have the Predator. Let's see how this unfolds.
Zanzara's here as well, though. Nothing. And that Flash is available now, and this is like, no, there's not been a revisit into the mid lane. We spoke about how that Flash being expended earlier by a roam by Twist, by the Predators, and by some aggression here. Zanzara does find a chain here. It's an ultimate forward from Schönfire. Double chain has landed as well. The Xin Zhao ult has not been able to stop too much here. Twist is going to be flashing here. It's one more kill. Chayek going to be getting a little bit of damage onto him here, but it's another kill here, and this is great. You almost feel like Misfits Premier never needed to give over this kill, but at least Oplon get one. Able to push their advantage a little bit further forward.
Initially, it was done so well by Chayek. He completely disengaged the engage coming through from Peng by just hitting that charm. But the movement came through from Twist because they had this by bot lane priority that we were talking about. Wasn't needed in the end. The 2v2 was still solidified, and it's just some of the early damage that comes through from Volibear that really can't be matched. It's why we want him to get it through. Now, reaching 11 minutes into the game, 0-0-2 on the LeBlanc does have that lost chapter at least, that now we can revisit again with the mid lane, right? If Schönfire goes for a recall here and invest some of the gold that he's gotten, you can try and look for the mid lane once again. You can even get Twist moving up there too. So I feel like they found themselves a mechanism that they can continue with an attack here.
I don't massively like this move here from Schönfire. You can see it looks to be that he's going to be trying to get this Rift Herald up on the top side. I feel like the gold onto Dalek is not absolutely awful in terms of being able to get a little bit of side lane prominence, but I feel like you just need to put your advantages where the gold already exists. You need to balloon, you need to hyperscale with it. And I think getting that gold into Seacor would be a lot better. Obviously, first turret is going to be given over to them. But you're giving over the dragon as well, and I feel like Misfits Premier haven't fallen far behind enough that you're really ever worried for them, and then being able to get the second dragon as well is just allowing them to get further and further to that win condition.
So the sweet spot I usually like with team compositions like this is a little bit about above 3k around the 15-minute mark. And if you have that, then you can always start trying to go in and take away the camps you see in the enemy jungle as well. I think they've been doing a good job at it on the top side too. Despite the crossmap coming through, you can see ping walls at the back of the red buff. Raptor entrance on the blue red side as well. Entrance is coming through too. So they got a lot of intel now. I would love to see them use this intel to further their skirmishes and further the gold lead they currently have.
Absolutely. I think it's, like you're saying, that 3k kind of gold spot or whatever.
Sweet spot of 3k gold lead. What do you mean, whatever?
Whatever, you know? I think it is whatever, though. I feel like with Oplon... Edgy. I'm not edgy, but, you know, I feel like with this composition and with, you know, the contextual knowledge that we have that this is Oplon, you just wonder if it's going to be enough against the Misfits Premier team that are just so good at holding on sometimes. Especially against a weaker team, it really feels like just there's a little bit more that Oplon could be doing at all points during this game. Just to find
while
it a little bit
while I agree with you, I want to believe, but looks like Misfits
might be getting
they're
caught
looking
out
for
here.
attack.
Leona ult, he's going to slow out. Fate's call comes out to get him out of there. Lives to tell another day.
He's fine. He lives to tell his friends about it. First plate might be going down in the mid lane here for Peng as well. Nope, Chayak immediately able to get that one away. And interestingly enough, Chayak actually with the level advantage against Peng. It is just 1 minion, okay? So he's going to hit level 10 here. But it's just interesting in this matchup too.
I think this is also interesting to note, though. It's only really noticed it now. Chayak actually has Resolve. I believe he has Bone Plating. I wonder what else he's taken the Resolve tree, but not typically a rune phase where you would see a lot from Ahri going that Resolve second with the aggressive Electrocute setup. And I feel like it's quite a good adaptation into the LeBlanc.
Yeah, I think it's good presence of mind. Not talking about the rune here, of course. Chayak may have to use some summoner spells.
Gonna have to ult away here. Gonna have to flash as well, otherwise that that chain binding him would have meant that I think Dalek would have had just about enough damage to get rid of him.
And this is what I did like about enabling the top side though instead. It allows Dalek to move into the mid lane himself if he wants to, and he's not losing anything on the top side. What he may lose now is his life.
He gets Mega Knight. He's going to stand up Zanzara, get him against the wall here, and it's going to mean the Schernfire can find a response here. Cannonball Barrage does come out in response here. Zanzara's found a little bit of a heal here. They might be able to just keep going if Peng's here as well. Catskos is going to have to use W to avoid the chain, but he walks out of it. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but here's Wu-Light, here's Zeri.
Oh no.
Dalek flashes, he gets a heal over the wall, but it's going to be double kill for Nautilus here. Last Ticket Knight will do it. Twist has flash here, going to have to flash away as well. And it was so good for Oplon, but they just can't quite manage to find the kill in excess. Now.
Initially, I just really like that play as well coming through from them. You know, they're playing around the priorities that they had, and while it's kind of Dalek getting caught off guard, they did have the vision around the blue side. They did have a pink ward. They knew they could come in with Peng afterwards as well, but they just overstepped. The intel that bot lane has back has not come through, and it just displays that while, yes, we do have some nice individual on the side of Oplon, the team play right now from Misfits from years as well, and what we've seen a lot of cases is that it's just a little bit better, and I think it's displayed in small skirmishes like this, where we just see an immediately recall from Wu-Light and from Vander to join up the team around the Rift Herald.
Yeah, completely. And now that Rift Herald is in the pocket, actually. In the pocket of Vander, actually, interestingly. So I think gives him a little bit more fluidity. Obviously, see him heading towards that top side. I would expect that tier 1 turret to be taken in response as well, but an extended trade.
Oh, here we go.
Chayak doesn't have ultimate. Does have ultimate, actually, just about there. Just about came out of cooldown here. Didn't have the flash there, so it was a little bit of danger, but Oplon's aggression again, trying to punish in the mid lane, but not managing to find anything again.
Yeah, but, you know, Ahri is a slippery champion. It's also why it's kind of favored a little bit into the LeBlanc matchup. Once again, you disengage the distortion coming through, but you're also so hard to catch off guard. Now Herald does come through. Will not break the tower on this shot, but it will make it very low. So maybe on a couple waves, you can come through with another play, and you can take down that mid lane turret.
Yeah, it's around about 25% now. I think important to draw attention to. Zcor still very much doing his job. Hasn't left bot lane this entire game now. Now with that bot lane turret. Probably see him more so in the mid lane now. Going for a bit more of a 1-3-1 composition with Schernfire. Alternating between those two lanes. Trying to keep this mid lane turret for alive as long as possible. Because you kind of have to come to grips with the fact that you're not getting the enemy mid lane tier 1 anytime soon if you're Oplon. Oplon staring down a third dragon now. They've gotten quite lucky in the sense, I feel like it is that Cloud Soul, bro.
Yeah, of course it is. It is luckier on that end. It's not to say that the soul is useless, because champions like Gangplank really value the ability haste you do get on ultimates. But outside of that fact, yeah, you're completely right. It's not really a Drake you would have preferred in terms of the different Drakes you could have gotten. Now setup is being fought for, and Ford have broke out.
There's a fight here. Schernfire goes quite low here. Has to flash out here. Zeri's ramping up though. Here comes Wu-Light. He's going over the wall now in a few seconds or so. Catskos has found Twist as well. Zcor, his immortal shield bow is burnt. Can't quite dodge out from the wind. Becomes lightning from Zanzara. He's flashed away though. He's outplaying Zanzara somewhat. Peng has to go for cooldowns. Oh, and that W did not look like it connected, but it does take the connection away from Zcor. Keyboard unplugged, he's sent back to base, and a third dragon is going to be gained by Misfits Premier.
Yeah, Zanzara coming through with the red smite there, so flashing forward, just getting the one take was enough for him to just wait for, well, not the explosion per se, but he was definitely walking away for him while Zcor was dying, and they pick up the third Drake for themselves, and the fight that led up to it. They were the first one on the objective too. They just had the faster reset, they had the setup timer. Once again, some of the macro aspects, Misfits Premier, they are just hitting those marks.
Yeah, you see a repeat of this team fight here. Oplon initially in the bush here, they try and find Vander, but it's just so much damage being done by Wu-Light, especially with that W as well. Scaling with the crit, I believe, with the one mythic item now. They just find it, and there's just not really much. I feel like Oplon at this point just don't have the lead really to kind of give up or kind of compete with the 5v5 ability that Misfits Premier here. Look at this W here. This looks so strange to me.
He died
to red bot before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So you just flash forward to get the burn, of course, and then boom, that is done and dusted. Now, in a position.
Hang on a second, Goldborg. Just give me a second,
Okay.
mate.
Okay.
I don't have many chances to call you out and expose you for lying, but you actually previously said that the Cloud Dragon gives ultimate CD, and it actually doesn't. It gives a slow resist and movement speed out of combat.
Oh yeah, I forget it's changed when they tried to make it more viable and then just...
Yeah, so, you know, not to expose you for being a liar, but you are a liar, and all the audience knows it now.
Ah, Jake, you want to play this game? I got a few fights I want to break down with you afterwards.
Fair enough. Understandable. You've got to give
because
me my
I value because I value our friendship, I'm not going to mention anything on broadcast.
You've got to give me this one, mate. It's the only chance I'm going to get. You can't just be smurfing every draft and every game and expect me not to pick you up on it one time.
So far. Doing fine so far. That's fair. You know, call me out. Go for it. I appreciate it. Anyone can.
We're creating a hero versus villain arc on the LFL English broadcast here, but speaking
it's probably the first time you get to be the hero yourself, I think.
I'm always the hero. It's a complete lie.
I always see you as the villain.
Well, fair enough. Oplon definitely calling out for a hero at this point, as they're now facing down an equal gold lead. That 3k gold lead that we spoke about earlier being built up is no longer there. It's been taken away now only about 500, and with the compositional differentiation, or differential rather, it's going to be very difficult for them to kind of surmount to that lead. Obviously with the 3 dragons as well. Chayek getting charmed up here, and it's just going to revert back to his original position. And you almost feel like it's a slow death. It's a slow burner for Oplon here. It's difficult for them to really get anything done now. I think they passed past that point. We spoke about them having 10 to 15 minutes. We're now at 20 minutes, and they're at a deficit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is in a situation where the competition becomes really difficult to play. And even if they want to dive forward, you know, shutting down the likes of Samsara as well with the Crescent Strike, that they just have so many tools to stop the damage from coming through, right? Hook on Nautilus if LeBlanc ever dashes forward, right? She's going to have to always distortion back immediately. Kalista can never step up into auto attack range because she would just get ulted by Vander. There's a follow-up ult from Kakas. Game is super difficult to play. And it's why we talk about these compositions like the one on Oplon, where we need to see more playmaking in the early game, because once you get to this point in the game, it's so difficult to play. By percentages, I think we're sitting at a good 70-80% win rate, right? Or win, what do you say, probability from the side of Misfits.
I think it's higher than that. Like, I'm not...
I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice to a little bit, probably.
Closer to 85-90 at this point. I feel like Misfits Premier have to make a mistake on such an egregious level for Oplon to even have a chance here.
Elaborate, Jane. Go on. Prove that.
I literally feel like Misfits Premier, like Katskos has to walk into the enemy fountain and disconnect his keyboard. For Oplon. Like, I'm talking like that level. Like, I'm gonna see an engage here. Shamfire just has to ult out immediately. Just has no ability to engage. So much stopping power. Able to be granted by Zanzara's ultimate here. On just time and time again.
You got the Crescent Strike for it.
Yeah, true.
You get that out of the way, and you get the Gangplank ultimate out of the way. You get the Seri ultimate out of the way. You still have Faith Call. You still have Solar Flare. Mechanoid could be a potential as well. Small window currently from the side of Oplon, but even then, they're walking blind into what is potential the next fight around this Drake. And look at the vision control already from Misfits Premier. They are posturing around for a good fight afterwards.
The owner ult doesn't land onto too many. Zenith Blade neither. Counter engage comes. Shamfire going to get taken out almost immediately. Oh, Dalek's come out with a big Gnar ultimate here. They found Peng. He's going to have to flash over the wall here. Shekor's going big here, trying to find some resets here with the Ren. He finds one onto Zanzara. Going to try and get Vander as well. Oplon's been taken out. 3 members so far. Twist flashes over the wall, but the Ignite is ticking somewhat. Zekor's found a double kill. Zekor's doing big. Zekor, the Immortal Shield Bow, he's going to get taken out eventually, though. Misfits Premier do manage to round out this fight. Zekor, a few more attacks, might have actually had a complete montage play there. He's trying his little heart out. Can't quite manage to find it.
He did have to flash as well for that hook coming through from the Nautilus. Unfortunately, did not see it in time. And that actually looked like a decent fight for Oplon. Not initially, Solar Flare gets whiffed, Schönfire just gets taken out by the CC, but by the skin of his teeth, he actually manages to just flash out of there and run away.
It's a really good Gnar ult.
It is indeed. It really buys so much space there, and while Peng is forced to flash away, the fight is getting so chaotic from the side of Misfits, where they kind of get to pincer them from the side of Misfits. You got Peng on one side, Seeker dealing so much damage as an AoE, and this is where you do have that flash if you want to look for it, but he thought the sidestep was going to be enough. It's the classic Nautilus hookbox. You need to be prepared for it.
I think he'd actually get like 1 or 2 more though if he flashes it.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm
not quite sure. I mean, Ari was quite low mana as well. I think he might have been able to.
Yeah, you might clean it. You might clean it. That could have been potentially the highlight players you were calling out. Unfortunately, wasn't the case, and now Cloud Drake has been secured by Misfits via teleport.
Leona is going to be used here. Dalek's not quite got mana. Well, not quite got Mega Gnar here. Shermfire going to have to ult out once again. Zekor, no Immortal Shield Bow. Gets taken out by Woolite off to the side here. Dalek is tail between his legs. Going to be sent back to the fountain as well. Misfits get another 2-4-0.
And it's kind of just what we predicted here. It's how the game should look like as well. Misfits, they just held on so well. So difficult for Oplon to find an opening, and now they're just taking over. They got the soul, they're getting the picks, they're getting the team fights, they're getting the Baron, and you know what? They might even get Shenfire at the Raptors.
God, you know it's bad when enemy Ari is just bullying your volley player off of his Raptor camp, almost killing him.
Oh, he's out, he's out. But yeah, it's not a pretty sight. And now with Baron buff up, what we just want to see from the side of Misfits from here is them playing on those 2 lanes. We talked about it a little bit earlier. It's just so easy to start the sieging like that. It's really just up to them. Do we want to play on top or bottom really here while we're having members in the mid lane? But here's the team fight once again. It's difficult at this point in time, right? They don't have the Fates Call. They don't have what you called out as well, the Shield Bow for Seeker to stay alive in these extended trades. And they're just getting split apart from the side of Oplon, and it makes it so easy for Misfits from here to just completely wipe the floor with.
Yeah, I don't know. They just don't have anything to play for, it feels like. I mean, saw them early kind of opting into, instead of ballooning and further accelerating Zekor's lead, they put a bit of effort into the side lane here. Xenoblade goes wide again. They need to try and find Zanzara. He's used the ultimate here, Leona. He's stunned up quite significantly. Zekor's going to get the Ren onto him, but he's going to drop down now to Katskos. Immortal Shield Bow goes down. They manage to take him out. Over the wall is Shayek. This is a repeat affair from before, bullying out Shermfire. Everfrost finds its target true, and that is 4 kills in the jungle. Peng left, the lonesome warrior, taking that top tier 1.
And it's difficult, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, Peng, he can go for that topside turret. You can pick up some of these objective bounties. It's not going to do you much. Once again, playing on those 2 lanes from Misfits from here. Coming through from the mid lane, might even pick up those 600 from this one. It's still not going to be the difference makers. They're going to be picking up inhibitors in the mid lane. They can move down towards the bot side afterwards, help Kakas get through with the bot lane inhibitor, or just go for the resets if they're worried about the death timers now coming up from Oplon.
Yeah, completely, and I feel like this is just, we're slowly marching towards inevitability, and it continues to be the case for Oplon, that they just don't do enough to not be a bystander or a pedestrian in their own downfall. We really spoke about how they needed to just throw it all down, let it all hang loose in terms of just, don't worry about the criticism if you make a false play, but just try at least to find these openings in the early game. We saw Zekor getting off to a good start, doing a lot in these team fights, but his teammates aren't backing him up in that way. Just go aggressive. You've got nothing to lose. You're getting outscaled eventually at a certain point. I would have loved to have seen them do more.
Yeah, but I also think like it comes down to the way that Misfits from here just shutting down their windows. They had very few times they could go for them as well, and they are just holding out better. Chai did a great job at, you know, solidifying some disengages with the charm coming through while the distortion was moving forward. Good reads as well from Woolite and Wender. They were the bot lane that was moving up towards the Rift Herald initially, despite Seeker and Twist having the bot lane priority. So I think Misfits from here, they are just a more skilled team in terms of the macro aspect. It also shows, despite them barely having any prior lanes in the early game, they know how to hold on, and this is now their game. They kind of just bore the fruits that they sowed themselves here. Or harvested, rather. Harvested,
exactly. Top lane turret getting harvested at the moment, surely. Mid lane inhibitor has been taken. That was waves are going to be charging in here. Peng gets a lot more return damage than he's able to dish out at this point. So difficult for this LeBlanc to find the primary targets. Charm is available. Shermfire gets engaged on here. He gets bursted out, has to ult out. I don't think I've seen him ult in for about 20 minutes or so at this point. It's been an absolute crazy set of affairs for Shermfire and his ability to impact on this bear, this armoured bear. Barely able to find a single piece of damage in this game as they take the inhibitor and move out of the base as Misfits Premier.
Your puns are unbearable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was a pun and a pun. I wasn't actually thinking that. Do you appreciate it?
No, I hate it. It was terrible.
Oh, really? Well, it was kind of the same length as yours. Now, Elder Drake up in 1 minute, if that's even going to be on the cards. Or Misfits Premier. 2 inhibitors taken down. Top and mid missing, only bot. 2 drop. And once again, I just don't see Oplon really finding their window here. Maybe if they all just stack in a bush, see if they can find someone isolated. Like Chayek at the moment.
We've seen them do that so many times before. We see the previous fight in the bot lane red buff bush. They tried to find a fight. They burn so much to try and burst any sort of a target, but they just can't find anyone. There's so much durability being available. Now Peng in the side lane. He was trying to look for Chayek, but he's going to have to flash away here. Zanzara, if you can find a win on Lightning, will they be able to detect the real one they have done here? Charm. Not going to land, but QW is going to be enough, and Peng goes down for his first death of the game in 28 minutes. Response, teleport has come out to that spectral W from Kalista. Vander's doing so well to stop Darla from getting out of this fight here. Shermfire's gone for an aggressive ult here. Zanzara, Z-Core's found the rend here. Charm is going to stop him from getting a little bit further into this fight. Look at Wu Light now, going to be getting some stacks here. Dalek is so cut up from the rest of the team. Z-Core, but he got to flash away here. Gat scores one more Q. Can he find a rend? Can he find anything? He can't quite do it. It's going to be Wu Light charging towards that, and that's a complete clean ace. That'll be a game. And although it was a slow and disappointing one, Oplon not able to putting up much resistance, Misfits Premier will be completing their 3-0 Super Week, turning around their affairs from early in the season, whereby I think at one point they were 1-4, going now up to 4-5, and it's a real turnaround for this team.
It is looking really good for Misfits Premier, and they finally put the last nail in the coffin that is Oplon at this point in time. As you said, 3-0. Super impressive week for them, specifically if you're considering the kind of scoreline they had before it. I think it was 2-5 or something like that. They've managed to completely turn the tides that they initially had. So a slow start of the split had turned into a strong super week now from the Rabbits in red.
Rabbits in red. Raving Rabid up the score, up the table. Now moving up to...
Killer Rabbits.